It is a debate we've been hearing more and more about in the football world: artificial turf versus real grass. Now, some experts warn turf can lead to more injuries than real grass does, specifically when it comes to these non-contact lower leg injuries. Of the 30 NFL stadiums, 16 have real grass, 14 have turf. That includes MetLife Stadium, where both, of course, the Jets and the Giants play. And we have unfortunately seen a number of those injuries in the past few years. Earlier this season, Giants star wide receiver Malik Neighbors went down with a season-ending knee injury. 2 years ago, Jets fans remember it. They all watched Aaron Rodgers tear his Achilles on the opening drive of the season. And again, there have been just a number of similar injuries in between. And it all raises the question, would real grass have made a difference? Here to weigh in is athletic trainer and physical therapist, Dr. John A. Gallucci. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak today.
Of course, so it's obviously case by case, so hard to say, like, would this have happened on real grass, right? But what does your expertise tell us about the difference here between the two?
It's a great question. Been listening to this question for 35 years of my career, and I could tell you that currently, with research, evidence-based, there is no true correlation that one is better than the other and one causes more increased injuries. We have research from high-level researchers, the Orthopedic Academy of Sports Medicine, the NFL and the NFL Players Association, leagues across the world have done all these evidence-based studies, and there is no true direct correlation that you have increased injuries on turf versus grass.
It's so interesting. So where do you think this whole debate is stemming from, if that's the case?
I think that athletes in general, especially if they see a colleague get hurt or somebody go down, and it's on that surface, there's a correlation. It was the surface. But let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. He's 40 years old. He was backpedaling, and he tore his Achilles. Do you know how many 40-year-olds I see every week backpedaling and tearing their Achilles? And that could be on a court, that could be on grass, that could be on field turf. So who's to truly say that it was the turf?
It gets more and more painful to watch every time you see it. But an NFL Players Association
Not if you're a Giant fan.
I guess that is true. An NFL Players Association survey from last year found 92% of players said that they prefer playing on real grass over turf. Why do you think that is from a player's perspective?
I think the history of the game was started on true grass. I think players have gotten wrong information and aren't looking at the true research that's been presented to them. I mean, when you're talking about physicians around the world, physicians locally, truly going into the research and looking at the statistics and looking about the injuries, and they're coming up with a flat line pretty much, that, I think the players would just rather play on grass because they're excited to play where the game was born. Now, as a medical professional, realize we used to see a tremendous amount of infections from people that would get abrasions and lacerations and dirt in their wound. When we look at field turf now, you don't see that aggressiveness of any type of infections. So there's infections, but not as much.
Interesting. So you wonder why, if the players are kind of saying that they want it, why more teams haven't switched to real grass. Right now it's about 50-50. I guess the obvious reason is it is expensive to have real grass out there, right?
It's expensive. I mean, if you go back years ago to Giant Stadium, it was a fortune for them to rotate when they went from the original old AstroTurf, which was carpet on cement, which we all knew was going to increase risk. But when you look at the evolution of where we've got with synthetic grasses, you definitely have an opportunity right now that it's even. Giant Stadium, the old Giant Stadium, used to have a tray system. We used to have problems with that, especially when you put a soccer game on it or you had a running back get stopped, the trays would shift, the grass would come up. We had a broken ankle back in the day on it with a soccer player that broke his ankle going right underneath the tray system. So again, there's never going to be in contact sport no injuries.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's a sport that people get injured in, and the NFL has great physicians, physical therapists, and athletic trainers every day doing research and studies in the topic.
Yeah, it's really interesting you bring up the soccer part of this conversation, right? Because we know that MetLife Stadium is one of the hosts of this summer's World Cup, and FIFA requirements require these stadiums to have real grass, so they are going to switch it, which I imagine can't be a cheap process. But then they're going to switch it back, they say, for the NFL season right after. I guess my question is, like, why wouldn't you just leave it at that point?
Well, soccer, or as we like to say in Europe, football. Okay, they are unbelievably honest to their game. And FIFA truly feels that the game of football, soccer, should be played on grass. And that's why they've implemented their policy that all of their elite games are played on grass.
You bring up another point. Every time there's an injury, you hear coaches say it, right? That is part of the game. It is part of the game. Injuries and NFL, right? Like, you can't separate the two. But so much of the focus is right now on concussions and these head injuries, and rightfully so. It is a very serious, situation impacting the NFL. But when these guys are taught to tackle low, is that part of the reason that's causing more lower leg injuries, or are the two kind of separate?
I think they're two separate. What most people don't realize in any sport, not NFL, not soccer, but all sports, it's really the velocity and then all of a sudden stopping. Your brain sits in buoyant cerebral fluid. It's going to shift. It doesn't really matter what sport or contact, hockey, soccer, football. At the end of the day, most concussions are caused by that immediate stop of the velocity and your brain buoyantly bouncing off of your skull, which causes it. So when you talk about lower extremity injuries in football, there have been lower extremity injuries in football for years. There's lower extremity injuries in every sport. The incident of concussion is one that has evolved over the last 20 years because the velocity of most sports have increased dramatically. If we looked at athletes in the 80s and 90s and look at athletes now, they're much quicker, they're much stronger, and ultimately that velocity stop can injure the brain, and that's where we see the incident concussion. The good thing is all the medical professionals in every level of league, every level of sport have identified processes for return to play and return to school and return to work, which is very, very important, all the elements of returning back from a concussion.
Yeah, the science certainly has come a long way. Dr. John Anthony Gallucci, thank you so much for keeping us healthy and for your insight today. We appreciate it.
Thank you. This was great. Appreciate you.